Hi, this is Bonnie with TLC Inspirations, and today I'm going to start learning how to hand embroider, and I've used a book called Doodle Stitching to get me started, but I'm going to let you learn with me if you choose to. So I've got all my supplies, my embroidery floss, and my hoop, and needles, and scissors. Okay, now the hoop, you've got an inner ring and an outer ring. I've got a small one here, and you can see how they fit inside of each other. Most of you are probably familiar with these. So you're going to take the inside hoop, and we're going to put our fabric over top of it, and then put our outer hoop over top of that. And make sure we get it nice and snug and tighten it up with our screw. And then you may have to adjust your fabric a little bit to make sure it's nice and snug. Okay, so we've got our fabric hooped, and I'm using a cotton fabric. Now for the floss, most of it is a 6-strand floss, and I'm going to only want to use 2 strands to thread my needle because I'm working on a small hoop, a small design. So to separate your strands, you grab a hold of your floss, and then you're going to want to just grab a hold of one strand and just gently pull straight up, and your floss will kind of roll up underneath your fingers there, but it doesn't really tangle. And then you can pull out a second one if you're going to use 2 strands, and so on. I chose to use 2, so I'll thread my needle with 2 strands of embroidery floss. And the first stitch I'm going to do, or attempt to do, is the straight stitch, which is an outline stitch. So we come up through the top, and then we go down through the bottom. And I drew some pencil lines with a tracing marker that I can follow, or try to follow. My first stitch is not exactly straight, so I will continue down my line here and see if I can do a little better job at following my drawn lines. So I came back up, and now I'm going to go back down. Continue my stitching. I'm sorry for the camera glare, but sometimes I get too close to it. I'm trying to see my stitches while I'm filming here. Okay, so I'm doing a little better job staying on the line and trying to keep the size of the stitches consistent is important. And I think I'm doing a pretty good job on that. The next stitch that we're going to do now that we've gone down this first line with the straight stitch, I'm going to attempt the back stitch, but first I'll continue, finish this row of straight stitches. Okay, it's looking pretty good. All right, now you can see I've already started my back stitching, and so with the back stitching, we're going in reverse. You can see what I just did. You come up about 1/4 of an inch below your last stitch, and then you go back in the same right underneath or right next to your previous stitch in a backwards motion. So it looks the same as the straight stitch pretty much. I think maybe the stitches are a little closer together. It's hard to tell. Okay, this stitch is a stem stitch, and we come up through the top, and again 1/4 of an inch below you drop, you go back in or down, and then you're going to leave a little loop, in about midway you're going to come back up through the loop. So again, quarter of an inch below, you go down, keep your little loop. Midway, you come back up, and that's the stem stitch. These are all outline stitches that you can use for different purposes, like the stem of a flower. Anyway, again, down, hang on to your loop, and then midway, or thereabouts, you come back up. There's your stem stitch, which is kind of a fun stitch to use, and it's a little more solid than the previous two, so I like it for that reason. So I'm not doing too bad on this one, staying on the line and keeping them fairly consistent. Just recently have gotten interested in hand embroidery. My mom used to do it all the time when she was younger, and it's so pretty. So I'm hoping that I can learn it, and I'm hoping that you're following along with me. So there's we've got straight stitch, back stitch, and a stem stitch. Not too shabby for a beginner. So I want to practice some of these stitches more. So since I used the book Doodle Stitches by Amy Ray, and she kind of focuses on just doodling and stitching them out. So I'm just drawing some squiggles. I am not an artist as far as drawing, but I'm just going to draw some funky little things here to practice on. And you can do the same, or you can transfer a design onto a piece of fabric and do it that way. But I think I'm just going to play around here and see what happens using these stitches that I've already tried. There is one more stitch that I would like to try though, and it's the chain stitch. So I'm going to draw it before I work on my little design. I am going to do one more stitch, and it's the chain stitch. So for the chain stitch, I did some here playing around already. We come up through the top from underneath, and then you're going to go back down in the same hole and create a loop. Okay, so there we've got a loop, and now you're going to come back up about a quarter of an inch below, or whatever length you want your stitch to be, or your chains, and then through the loop, and then pull it snug, not too snug, and keep it looking like a chain. Okay, so now to do another one, you're going to go back down in the same hole where the thread came up, and you're going to create another loop, and you're going to come up a quarter of an inch or so below the last chain and through your hoop again. Now if you can come through your loop when you come up through the fabric, that's great, but a lot of times your loop is going to be off to the side or whatever, so that's why I'm doing it this way, where I create my loop and leave it kind of sitting there, and then I come back up, pull my thread all the way up, and then I go through the loop. So that's the chain stitch, which is another fun one. It can be used in a lot of different ways. So those are our first 4 stitches, and I'm going to play around with my design, and I hope you do the same. And I hope you've enjoyed this this little beginning journey with me, and that you'll follow my the full series on hand embroidery. Learn with me. And Thank you for watching. And now you can, in the next frame, you'll see my little design after I stitched it out. There it is. And that's what I ended up with. And I'm pretty happy with it, and it was fun, and I will create more um, as we go along. I got a little flower, and I used all the stitches that we used. The flower was done in the straight stitches and the stem stitch and the chain stitch. So they're all utilized in my design. And again, I thank you for watching.